We're out in the open tonight with a controversy that generated thousands of emails when we first touched on it. Intolerance against people who don't believe there is a God. So what's it like to be an atheist in America? Our faith and values correspondent Delia Gallagher looks at one family's disturbing experience.
As an atheist, I'm the last minority that it's okay to really bash or put down.
Jean and Mike Rice are atheists who live in Colorado.
We're regularly told that we're going to hell, that we're sending our children to hell.
These are people saying this to your face?
Yes, to our face.
Seems like a nice place to live.
We've got a nice place to raise them. And
Jean and Mike both grew up in Christian families, attended church and Bible school, and both say that at an early age, they questioned the idea of a higher power.
I was 9 or 10, and one day, for the first time, I realized that everyone else believed all these stories. I just didn't realize what they meant, that there's actually supposedly something out there.
The price of coming out publicly as atheists can be high. In the last town they lived in, Jean Rice says soon after confiding her atheism to a friend, her landlord told the family they would have to move.
Within a few days of my telling her that we are atheists, I started hearing from other people, "Oh, are you atheist?" And it was quite shocking. And within a few weeks, our landlord gave us notice.
The Rices say they can't prove that religious discrimination was the reason they were asked to leave, but they found the timing suspicious.
How has this affected your kids?
They've had to learn to keep their mouths shut.
Our daughter had no one to play with for a long time.
The fear of becoming outcasts keeps many atheists underground. And what little support they find is often online, where friends and neighbors can't see. Jean belongs to an online support group for atheist moms.
And why no curious Christians?
We're here to talk among ourselves.
In the U.S., the number of atheists is estimated between 1% and 3% of the overall population. That's at least 3 million people. A recent study by the University of Minnesota found that atheists are the least trusted minority group in the United States and are less accepted than other marginalized groups, including Muslims and homosexuals.
I get calls from all over the United States from people who have been harassed, ostracized, sometimes lost their jobs because of discrimination against non-theistic Americans.
We feel to a certain extent that atheists are very much on the attack.
Ryan Anderson with the religious journal First Things says atheists themselves contribute to the mistrust.
Part of the public persona and the public image of atheism is what's presented by the people suing, to remove "In God We Trust" from the coins or the God phrase from the Pledge of Allegiance. And when that militant atheism becomes kind of like the public image of atheism, I think that gives rise to a lot of discontent with atheism.
When they can talk about religion and preach on the street corner, but if we try to do the equal time, if we try to go out there and say as much about that there is no God,
I'm not the one doing the oppressing. I'm the one being oppressed at that point.
Delia Gallagher, CNN, Colorado.
Well, after we first brought this topic out in the open, most of the emails that we received were from people who thought that we should have included an atheist in our discussion. So now we're going to turn to one of the world's most prominent atheists. Richard Dawkins is an Oxford University professor whose bestseller sparked worldwide controversy. The God Delusion argues that belief in God is not only irrational, but it can be deadly. Paula spoke with him just a couple of days ago.
Why are you an atheist?
Why don't you believe in Thor? Why don't you believe in Zeus? Nobody believes in most of the things that you could believe in. You're an atheist with respect to the flying spaghetti monster. I'm an atheist with respect to the Judeo-Christian God because there is not a shred of evidence in favor of the Judeo-Christian God or indeed any other God.
It strikes me that the atheist message is particularly threatening to some Christians because they believe in some way you're trying to compromise their ability to have this stuff out there on the public stage. Is there any public role, as far as you're concerned, for religion?
I think people should be free to believe whatever they like, to write whatever they like, to say whatever they like within within reason. But the problem is that religious people, I think especially in America and also in the Islamic world, are in the habit of getting it all their own way and are remarkably intolerant of atheists.
But why do you think they're so remarkably intolerant of atheists?
Well, I think there's a sort of historic misunderstanding of what atheism is. For some reason, people have been brought up to believe that atheists have two horns and a tail. I mean, there are figures that show that atheists are the most mistrusted group in America, which is pretty astonishing considering, as I say, the innocuousness of what they actually are. They're just people who hold a different belief system.
Certainly you have encountered people, though, who are intimidated by your message, and that in some way it puts perhaps their own faith in doubt?
Well, why would anybody be intimidated by mere words? I mean, neither I nor any other atheist that I know ever threatens violence. We never threaten to fly planes into skyscrapers. We never threaten suicide bombs. We're very gentle people. All we do is use words to talk about things like the cosmos, the origin of the universe, evolution, the origin of life. What's there to be frightened of in just an opinion?
Final question. How would you characterize the overarching public reaction to atheism?
Misunderstanding and really missing an awful lot of what's valuable, because if you're an atheist, you know, you believe this is the only life you're going to get. It's a precious life, it's a beautiful life, it's something that we should live to the full, to the end of our days. Whereas if you're religious and you believe that there's another life somehow, that means you don't live this life to the full because you think you're going to get another one. That's an awfully negative way to live a life. Being an atheist frees you up to live this life properly, happily, and fully.
Richard Dawkins, we really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Some eye-opening opinions and allegations. Next, our panel weighs in on what can be done about religious intolerance and discrimination against atheists.